In the opening scene, a fire accident engulfs an abandoned warehouse in Brooklyn, and several reporters are flooding the scene to get coverage of the incident. Kate Bradley, a reporter who usually covers disasters and tragedies, and her news channel arrive in the area. She's hell-bent to move closer to get proper coverage, even against the order from the police. She almost gets hit by a falling piece of metal, if not for the timely intervention of a firefighter. After taking a quick break, she comes back on a live broadcast on Channel 12 News. When they get back to the office, her colleagues applaud her for taking the risk to get exclusive footage that no other news channel could even attempt to get. The manager, David, walks over to inform her that their legal department thinks otherwise about the risk she took. They refer to her report from the fire scene as reckless and dangerous because their insurance doesn't cover stunts like that. Kate doesn't see why he's making a fuss about her report, as it's not the first time she's done such. In an attempt to get exclusive news details, the manager isn't pleased with her. He informs her that the station management is going nuts with all the risks she's taking. She argues with him because she believes her risk-taking instinct is what's making them have more ratings online. But her boss shuts her up and orders her to listen to him. On her way home, her dad calls her as he has been worried sick after seeing her report from the fire scene. Mr. Ashok is a senator, and due to the nature of her job, he'd prefer she consider reporting on politics instead of chasing fires and car crashes. Kate doesn't like political stuff as it isn't as exciting as the kind of work she does. He invites her to attend the political fundraiser with him the next day. It's been ages since he saw her last, and he feels it'll be a great opportunity to get to see her once more. Kate doesn't like political events like that, but she's got to make the sacrifice if it will make her father happy. The next day at work, David assigns tasks to everyone, but the task he assigns to Kate is not her usual. She complains about it, but he dismisses her complaint. After the meeting, she approaches him to know why he has refused to give her the regular news case. David explains that the execs don't want her on any story that might explode, burst into flames, or otherwise end up in an insurance claim. He informs her to just consider this as a break from the bummer beat. On their way to the scene, she's to make a report on. Kate complains to Josh, her partner and driver. He assures her that David will not keep her on local news for long, as she's one of the best reporters they've got. She thanks him for the compliment, however. She doesn't buy the Good Samaritan angle, which she's expected to report. They arrive at the location of the report, and the woman ushers them in. Josh takes the coverage, while Kate listens to the woman explain how she found $100,000 on her porch in the morning of the day. The woman believes a good person out there somewhere is looking over them, and that person must have dropped the bag of money. She shares how they've been going through a really hard time ever since her husband was laid off during the last winter. They were evicted from their house, and they eventually had to move to a smaller place. The woman reveals that the major reason why she called for their news station is because she wants everyone to know that miracles do happen. She can see from Kate's eyes that she doesn't believe in miracles. The woman tells her that sometimes things don't just appear before the human eyes, as some things can only be seen with the eyes of the mind. After the interview, Kate and Josh are having a discussion. He knows that Kate still thinks it's drug money or a robbery. She doesn't buy the idea that a good person out there is going about doing good deeds and expecting nothing in return. As they go over the recording, she wonders what the number 8 written like an infinity sign means on the bag containing the money. She suspects it might just be a marketing gimmick, but she's certain that whoever is behind this event has a motive. Kate attends the fundraiser her father invited her to. After his speech, she walks over to greet him. He requests to introduce her to one of his donors, who was recently named Investment Alliance Fund Manager of the Year. He introduces her to Jack Hansen, and since he feels like they are getting along, he leaves them and takes his leave. Jack engages Kate in a conversation, and he finds out that she lacks interest in politics, nor is she willing to leave New York and move to Washington like her dad wants. In the course of their conversation, Kate's phone beeps, and when she checks it, she realizes that the station just sent her a lead on the story she's currently working on. Jack requests her number before she leaves. He wants them to go out for dinner sometime, but Kate declines. She informs him of her rule to never go out with anyone in her father's political circle. He believes the reason for that strange rule of hers is valid, but then his motives are very clear, and he intends to just keep it at dinner. She insists on turning him down, and she quickly excuses herself before he will go further. On her way out, Kate calls the contact sent to her. She confirms the identity as Marie Ellis, and the woman over the phone reveals that she received the same package as the woman in Kate's last report. Kate requests to meet, and the lady obliges her on the condition that she won't bring in the camera. Else, she will not open her door. She arrives at Marie's home and checks the cash. It amazes her that the cash is not counterfeit as she thought. Marie reveals that she doesn't need the help, unlike the other woman. She's an oncologist at a hospital in town, and she's doing quite well for herself. At first, she thinks the money is stolen, so she takes it to the police station where they inform her that there's no record of such. She intends to put the money into pancreatic cancer research, since it's an underfunded field, and the amount will go a very long way. Kate listens to Marie tell her the reasons why she chose pancreatic cancer, and she thinks it's a very interesting storyline. She tries to convince her to consider an interview on camera, as it could draw a lot of attention to the research she's supporting. But Marie likes to keep her private life private. However, she suggests that Kate mention the cause she's donating to. The following day, Kate arrives at the office to meet David, allocating new tasks to everyone. He assigns her to get footage that's her usual style, but she turns the offer down. Her interest has been piqued by the Good Samaritan story, and now she wants to stay on it. She shares information about the call she received from Marie the previous evening, and this time, the details are the same as the one the other lady received. David argues with her as he doesn't think there's a story there to tell. One of the workers comes to inform Kate that there's a call for her from Jesse Durham, and this person says he also found a bag of cash just like in her report, but this time he caught the guy on camera. Kate immediately leaves to interview the guy who explains how the money will meet his needs. He had an accident that ate into his savings some months back. Jesse shares that he will use the money to bounce back on his feet, and whatever remains from it, he will write a check to the food bank, which came to his aid during his time of lack. Getting back to the office, she finds a bouquet and a note from Jack. David soon comes to commend her work on the case, but he needs her to bring him solid info and offers to bring another report in if she gets stuck. Kate rejects his offer since it's her story, so she will work on it herself. She promises to give him some info the next day. Immediately after he leaves, she turns towards her computer to make some findings about this Good Sam story. The following morning, David arrives at the office and is surprised to find Kate at work already. He suspects she must have slept in the office overnight. Kate calls him in to share some solid leads she found. She links Jesse and Marie's story to a leading firm. She shares her fact with David, who thinks it's a good one. He asks her to meet up with a partner of the firm whom Marie and Jesse once worked with, and then get him to admit giving out those funds for publicity purposes. Afterward, they'll help to promote Good Sam as a follow-up on their nooncast. Kate gets to work immediately. She takes Josh along with her to assist in covering the story. She steps into the firm and requests to meet the realtor and partner named Patrick Hayes. Unfortunately, the front desk personnel doesn't know much, and for fear of being on the news, she leaves her desk to go make inquiries. Kate takes a picture of the note containing Patrick's address, which is lying on the desk. They show up at Patrick's residence the same morning, and a young man reminds her that he was the one who rescued her at the Brooklyn fire incident. Kate brings up the Good Sam story, and how in 24 hours 3 people have each found 100 grand in cash on their doorsteps. After listening to her, he realizes that she must be mistaking him for Patrick, so he reveals that he is Eric, Patrick's brother. Patrick had passed away 5 months ago. She sympathizes with him and gives her card to him just in case anything pops up. Eric collects the card and bids her luck with her story. Josh gives her a funny look until they get into the car, and he admits that for the first time, he's seeing her look flustered while interviewing someone. She denies his accusation when her phone starts ringing. She picks up and realizes that Jack is the one on the line. He manages to convince her to go out on a date with him, and she gives in to his request. After her call, Kate tells Josh that she will be going out on a date with someone else who isn't Eric by 7 p.m. Her phone suddenly beeps, and when she opens it, she finds a message from David asking her to go check out another person who just received the same amount of money from Good Sam. The news channel airs Kate's interview with the 4th person receiving the bag of cash. This time, Good Sam drops a note for the paralegal, and he states on the note that the money is for her to go to law school. The young lady has been a paralegal for 10 years, and it has been her dream to eventually get into law school. Kate steps out of the office and finds her colleague watching her interview. She bids her goodnight and leaves for her date with Jack. Jack takes her to a fancy restaurant where they eat and chat about her recent stories. He thanks her for bending her rules and going on a date with him. Interest in the Good Sam story keeps increasing as the days go by. People wonder who and where the next act of generosity will be. Kate goes on the streets interviewing random people and allowing them to share what they will do with that amount. After the interview sessions, she informs those watching that the news channel has been receiving quite several videos, calls, and emails. The new channel plays a video from one of their youngest viewers named Sylvia, who is requesting Good Sam's help. to purchase medicines for her sick mother. David rounds up his reporters for a meeting, and each one of them reports that they didn't find any lead to who Good Sam might be. In the course of their discussion, Kate receives information that someone claiming to be Good Sam is here to see her. Kate interviews the man who is pretending to be Good Sam. Her suspicion heightens as he is eager to go on air, so she decides to test him and find out the name of the last recipient of his good deed. He falls right into her trap and calls the wrong name. She reveals the lady's name and asks how he could forget her name when it's barely 24 hours. The following morning, Kate is taking a walk with her father around the park. A shock likes the Good Sam story and thinks the person behind it might want nothing in return. For Kate, it's the biggest story of her career, but it might just end if no new story comes up, especially as no money was dropped anywhere the previous day. Her father encourages her and invites her to come with him to the mayor's house later that night. He feels she enjoyed the last events, or maybe it's thanks to Jack Hansen. He softly brings Jack into their conversation and starts encouraging Kate to hang out more with him whenever she's not busy chasing news. The following day, Kate and her partners step out to conduct a second interview with Christina after a week of receiving the cash gift. The first recipient of the $100,000 from Good Sam. Christian reveals how the monetary gift from Good Sam has changed her life and inspired her to be good to others. She also mentions getting a car for her neighbor who takes 3 buses to work. Kate is surprised listening to her, saying that Good Sam's deed is spreading like a miracle. On the way back to the office, she finds it hard to believe that Christina went as far as buying a car for her neighbor. And even Marie had donated all her share to cancer research. She feels like Good Sam's generosity is contagious, because Marie's donations have tripled since it was mentioned on the news. A call from David suddenly interrupts their conversation. He informs them that he just received an intel from the police about a construction worker who is dangling off the side of the Hope building. Their van is the closest, so he wants them to be there in 3 minutes. He gives them some additional information that Eric Hayes will be doing a one-man rescue. According to his source from the FDNY, he wouldn't want them to mention Eric's name on air. On arriving at the scene, it looks like Kate and Josh are the first to arrive there. David informs them that they will be going live to capture the rescue mission. Eric successfully rescues the construction worker, and after her live broadcast, Kate visits the FDNY station and requests to meet with Eric. She tries talking him into granting them an opportunity to interview him, but he refuses to budge. He suggests she try again at some other place where the fire trucks will be missing, and they won't be at work. They agree to meet up on Sunday, and just then, Kate receives a text from David informing her that Good Sam is at it again. She confesses to Eric that she's certain now that he's not Good Sam, as she has had her eyes on him all day. She excuses herself to take leave and go attend work calls. Kate gets to the office and finds David in a withdrawn mood. G informs her that the management wants someone else to handle the Good Sam story. Kate pleads with him to let her continue the case, but the deal has been finalized as they've assigned their most senior reporter Susan on the story, and she's already on the field. David assigns her to another case, and seeing that there's no other option, Kate accepts the management's decision. Now, she'll have to send all her notes to Susan. Kate sits outside the office discussing her plight with Josh when her phone beeps with a message. She discards it with the belief that it's probably another person claiming to be Good Sam. Josh advises her to check the person out since he's requesting to meet with only her, and from the information he dropped in his text, it might just be true. Kate considers his words and agrees for them to check it out. They arrive at the address of the person whom Good Sam claims to have dropped a bag of money on their porch, and they discover it's the family of the little girl Sylvia who was soliciting Good Sam's help for her mom's treatment. After the interview with Sylvia and her dad, they get back to the station and show him the recording they made. David thinks it's a good one, but then the management will not be pleased as the story has now been assigned to Susan. They manage to convince David to run it, but he instructs them to bring any more leads they get to Susan. Sunday arrives and Kate meets up with Eric as agreed. They walk around the park and chat about their lives and childhood. He requests to host her sometime within the week for a home-cooked dinner. Kate confesses that she can't miss an invite to a home-cooked meal. Her phone notifies her of a message, and when she checks, it's another text from Good Sam requesting to meet her by 9 p.m. that night. Eric asks what it's about, and she shares the lead she got the previous day from Good Sam and his request to meet with her that day. He wonders why Good Sam would want a reporter to come see him alone and without any cameras. Eric feels Good Sam's request doesn't make sense because anyone who will be giving out the kind of money he's distributing would want to do it completely silently or meet up at a safe place for an interview. He discourages her from going, but she insists, so he requests to come with her. promising that he'll make sure not to alert Good Sam of his presence. At 9 p.m., Kate arrives at the scene waiting to see who Good Sam will turn out to be. Eric calls her phone to assure her that he's also in the area, and he's been watching over her so she doesn't encounter any harm. While they are on call, a black vehicle drives and stops in front of her. Kate ends her call with Eric as she suspects it to be Good Sam. As the man steps out of the owner's seat, Kate is stunned to see Jack Hansen in person. Jack takes her to another location so they can discuss. He reveals that 8 has always been his luckiest number, and he had made an investment of $800,000 on the 8th of the month, which he thought to give away. Jack explains himself and the reason for his actions, but he doesn't want to get interviewed. Kate somehow manages to convince him to accept having her interview him. The next day, Kate takes her evidence to show to David, and then she manages to get him to allow her to conduct Jack's interview instead of Susan. After Jack's interview, David informs Kate that the story will be going national that night. He also advises Jack to lay low, as he's going to become more famous tonight. 15 minutes after the interview, Jack takes Kate to a restaurant so they can have some lunch. Just as they are about to dig into their meals, a news channel arrives at the premises. He follows Kate's lead and turns to take his leave, but one of the reporters already gets to him. Kate listens to him recite the same things he said during their interview. On the ride out of the restaurant, Kate questions how he could recite everything he told them word for word. Jack attributes it to his several rehearsals the previous night. They continue conversing and Jack makes a move to kiss her, but she quickly pulls back. She admits there was a spark between them initially, but now he's her story, and she'd like to keep it that way. The following day, Kate checks up on Eric at the station. He hasn't been replying to any of her texts, and Eric feels a bit thrown overboard with the incident the previous night when he tried to step in, but she dismisses him, saying Jack is her dad's friend. She explains that Jack is her story, so he doesn't have to get worked up over it. Kate requests to know if their dinner the next day will still hold, but before he can give her an answer, the emergency alarm goes off. Jack and other members of the team run around in preparation for the emergency operation. Kate arrives at the station later, and everyone gathers around her to celebrate the rapid increase in their rating thanks to last night's interview with Good Sam. Their station has been receiving lots of feedback about people who are going out of their way to walk in the footsteps of Good Sam. David tells her to get Jack on another interview with a few of the people he has helped so far. Kate informs Jack, who agrees to go ahead with her to Christina's place. The interview begins, and she notices that there's something off about Jack. He looks a bit uncomfortable with Christina and couldn't even recall the name of the alleged church member who gave him intel on her situation. Jack receives a call that interrupts the interview and informs Kate that he will need to take his leave already. Kate gets back to work and decides to go over the videos of Jack's interview in a bid to find out what she might be missing. A colleague comes to join her, and after sharing her thoughts, she informs him that she needs to leave. Minutes later, she arrives at Senator Wintour's private party. Wintour sees her and comes to welcome her. He ushers her in, and Kate reveals she's at the party so she can see Jack. He asks her to make herself comfortable when she sees Jack. He'll tell her about the big announcement. Kate finally meets with Jack, and she discovers that the big announcement is about his intent to run for Congress. Jack explains that his actions might look political to her, but he's got her father's blessings. Wintour soon comes to join them, and he takes Jack along with him. At work the next day, Kate informs her colleagues and David about Jack's intention to run for Congress. She's not pleased with the fact that he will be running on a public image they created for him. She feels like he used them, but David simply asks her to keep digging. Kate receives a call from her dad. She tries to find out when Jack suddenly indicates interest in running for Congress. Ashok explains how everything came about. He considers Jack's action to be simply politics, but Kate feels Jack manipulated them and everyone else. Eric reaches out to her, and she turns up for the promised dinner at his place. After they are done eating, he apologizes for his wrong assumptions about her and Jack. Kate reveals that he wasn't wrong, not to trust Jack, as it turned out he had something planned out, which was why he started the Good Sam charade. The both of them spend the rest of the night conversing about Eric and his family. Kate continues making her findings the next day, and she reaches out to Stephanie from another news channel. Stephanie reveals to her that Jack, or his publicist Carl, had sent out a press release, and that was how she got to find them at the restaurant after his interview with Channel 12. She draws up her conclusion with her colleagues, and they realize that Jack isn't Good Sam. Kate bursts into Jack's office demanding an explanation. He finally confesses that he isn't Good Sam. He saw an opportunity and decided to play the role, but he actually gave out $400,000. Kate is pissed that Jack isn't seeing anything wrong with his actions, and he thinks it's just all about the mileage. On her way out of Jack's office, she calls David to reveal the truth about Jack to him. She suggests they go back to the first money drops and find out what the candidates have in common, and that's one way they can try to find out who the real Good Sam is. She ends the call saying she's got a hunch, and she'll get back to him and the team later with her findings. After going through some videos, she stops by Jesse's to ask him about a person who looks like him in the photo she found in Eric's house. Jesse reveals that he was practically a member of the Hayes family, and he was close friends with Patrick, whom he helped to fix his boat, Crazy 8. She leaves Jesse's place with some information, and she decides to check on Faith. She finds out that Faith worked with Patrick as a paralegal. From her phone call with Christine, she realizes that Christine was Patrick and Eric's babysitter. Marie isn't left out in the connection, as she was Patrick's doctor some years ago. Kate visits Eric to confirm that he is Good Sam after all. He ushers her in and explains how he got all the money to give to people. He reveals that after his brother's boat got destroyed, he found out that Patrick transferred the ownership to him, and the insurance was $400,000. He couldn't keep the money because he felt he failed his brother, so he gave the money away to the people who meant something to Patrick. He informs her that he wants to remain anonymous and not her story. She respects his decision and refuses to further probe him for an interview. The following day, she makes her report on Channel 12 clarifying the identity of Good Sam, who turns out to be someone who wants to remain anonymous, and not Jack, who gave out some money for the sake of his political ambitions. After the day's job, Ashok calls his daughter to commend her good work and instinct about Jack. A month later, Kate and Eric's relationship has grown stronger. The duo are in a park enjoying some cozy time and kissing when a young lady comes to interrupt them, asking Kate to thank Good Sam on her behalf. She shows Kate a coin she and her classmates received after getting a fully paid scholarship. The young girl absolutely believes it must be Good Sam's deed. After she leaves, Kate confirms with Eric that he's not responsible for that. He tells her to go chase after the story if she wants to, and he'll be waiting for her. Kate kisses his lips one more time and thanks him. She gets up and runs after the lady.